The following opinions are solely those of BoatTest.com and its test captain. Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTest.com, and today we're going to be conducting a sea trial and performance evaluation of the latest launch from Beneteau's Swift Trawler lineup, the Swift 47. 3 years ago, this was a 3-boat lineup, but because it's been so successful, now it's 5 and still growing. This new 47 has a lot of improvements to her layout and functionality, but this video is all about her performance and handling, so let's start with a look at her operational features.
There are 4 16-inch cleats to each side, including 2 midship cleats. To the starboard side deck, dual fuel fills and water fill. Fully forward, the rail height is at 32 inches at the working end of the bow. There's a split bow rail for bow end boarding. Dual anchor rollers support Delta plow anchors. There's a Lumar windlass, road storage to both sides. I'd like to see a cleat in the center for securing the anchor rods.
A pair of hatches in the cockpit leads to the lazarette. It's here where the 9.5 kW generator is located. Right alongside is a diverter that sends exhaust water below the waterline for a more quiet time at the anchorage. There's ample storage all around the compartment. The water strainer is just ahead and to the left for easy access. The battery is just behind.
The engine compartment is accessed from a hatch in the salon. There's plenty of soundproofing underneath. We'll see how effective that is when we get underway during our test. Steps lead us right in between the twin QSB 6.7 425 horsepower Cummins diesel engines. Service points are both to the port hand side but easily accessible, so there's no need to be a contortionist to get to those. At the aft bulkhead, sea strainers are easily accessible. Water tanks seen to both sides. Forward, I've got the dual fuel tanks. These engines are connected to straight shafts. Normally we see the helm mounted over to the starboard side, but here it is center mounted, and I like it. It gives us great visibility across the panoramic windshields. As for the console itself, compass right in the center, analog gauges just underneath that include the tachometers with selectable information, and fuel gauges to both sides. Just below that, we've got 12-inch displays that include the ship control. This allows us to have full functionality of all of the ship's systems right from this touch panel. We can even see here that we've got power coming from the generator and the inverter. Below that, all of our electrical switches, autopilot, a pivotal feature of any trawler, rudder indicator, USB connectivity, bow and stern thruster controls, and the digital engine controls. Where we're not operating on autopilot in true trawler fashion, we've got a 24-inch and leather-wrapped destroyer wheel mounted vertically. Just underneath that is a flip-down step to add a little bit more comfort when we're sitting behind the helm. On the left-hand side of the helm, engine display and the VHF radio. Over to the starboard side, an opening port light adds to the ventilation at the helm. Now, if you don't want to use the ship control at the helm, here's a separate panel for controlling all of the ship's systems, and here's an interesting feature that's just being added by Beneteau. Touchpad for controlling all of the 12-volt systems.
The flying bridge helm is center mounted. It consists of a compass right in line with the wheel and in a bit of a recess to preserve visibility. The side portions are raised to accommodate the 2 12-inch displays. Analog gauges are in the center with the tachs including selectable displays. The rudder indicator is in the center, and below are the 2 fuel gauges. Over to the left is the Raymarine autopilot, the grid controller for the dual displays, and the remote spotlight controller. There are electrical switches to the left and more to the right of the wheel. Below are the trim tab rockers that include LED indicators. The engine controls are at a comfortable position and angle. All the way to the right are the bow and stern thruster controls. When it came time to get underway, we had the typical tight confines of a boat show breaking down, but the combination of big props and rudders coupled with the bow and stern thrusters made it a non-event. It's one of the joys of operating a Swift, and even as things started to open up a bit, her responsiveness to the helm became more and more apparent. She's really an easy-to-handle boat. So let's stretch your legs. The Swift 47 has a length overall of 48 feet 4 inches, a beam of 14 feet 6 inches, and a draft of 3 feet 10 inches. With an empty weight of 27,958 pounds, 3/4 fuel, and 4 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 31,935 pounds.
So, We ran the numbers and came up with some really interesting statistics on this boat. Top speed at 3,090 RPM, 26 knots. At that speed, she was burning 42 gallons per hour for a range of 283.8 nautical miles. Now, best cruise can be looked at in two different ways, on plane and in displacement mode. On plane, just a little bit shy of the top speed at 3,000 RPM. That produced 24.7 knots and 32.6 gallons per hour for a range of 347.6 nautical miles. Now, if we back it way down to trawler speed where she's in the water in displacement mode, then we've got 1250 RPM, 8.1 knots. At that speed, 3.8 gallons per hour, 2.1 nautical miles per gallon for a total range of 970.4 nautical miles, all while still holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 510-gallon total fuel capacity.
This is a well-handled boat, and she's quick to respond to both the helm and throttle. She'll come up on plane in 7 seconds and continue accelerating through 20 miles per hour in 9.6. That quick acceleration is impressive, as is her responsiveness to the steering, so if we need to maneuver quickly to avoid a fish pot, she'll answer accordingly. We were left with calm seas, so that puts us at a disadvantage for commenting on her seakeeping ability, but crossing wakes show a dry ride, no hull slap, and a smooth transition across. Basically, comfortable throughout the performance envelope. Now, we discussed the soundproofing when we were in the engine compartment, and now we know it's quite effective. Sound levels never went above a conversational level, and these measurements were taken right from the lower helm with doors and windows closed. Now, when it's time to return to the dock, there are few boats that make it this easy or comfortable. The opening side door is the best feature here, both for visibility and ease of access to the midship cleat. I was able to lay her against the dock with gentle precision. And notice how we can see the stern of the boat through the salon window. It's no secret that I'm a fan of the trawler lifestyle, and I've been impressed with the Swift lineup since the first model we tested, and it's only gotten better since. This newest model is the first to be offered with a hardtop. She's got a huge flying bridge deck, and her main deck is more spacious and functional, but all that's for another video. Be sure to look for it. For now, our test has shown that Beneteau doesn't sit on its laurels, but continually strives to improve upon itself, and here we see the result with our full test of the Swift 47. For BoatTest.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.